Hi folks, I'm Stacy Frizzle, the Executive Director at People Plus, and this is People Plus Cooks. We are cooking up meals for 1 or 2 people at home, older adults that are still taking care of themselves, living independently, making their own meals, and we like to focus on that kind of stuff at People Plus. And today is easy peasy salmon. So you might feel as you get older like, ugh, why bother cooking anymore? And I can tell you it's a lot cheaper for starters. And it can be really gratifying to make a meal for yourself or for yourself and a friend or a partner. So one of the things we want to focus on is price. Of course, you want to be cost effective. So I popped to the grocery store, got a chunk of salmon, which feels really decadent, but this piece, which will easily feed 2 people, was only $7. I've also got a sweet potato, an apple, and some asparagus. The entire thing today cost about $11.79, something like that. So super easy. First thing we're gonna do is get the salmon in the fry pan. Just right here on the cooktop. It's gonna be super fast. And we're gonna give it just a little salt on the flesh side down. And we are gonna go straight in with that into a hot fry pan. So we're gonna set that on high, and that is gonna start cooking, and it's gonna cook off for probably almost the whole show. We'll do probably 5 or 6 minutes on face side down. Don't move it, don't touch it. We'll flip it over onto the skin side and get that in there as well. So the salmon is going. You kind of got that in. Give a little salt on the skin side down. And then the next thing we want to do is get our asparagus cooking on the cooktop. So we're going to use 1 pan in our ovens for this show. And the asparagus, I don't know if you've done a lot of asparagus, but the asparagus, you have to kind of get rid of this hard end on the end, and it knows where it wants to be cut. So if you just snap them, they break at the point in the stalk where the end is no longer edible. So you can either cut a whole bunch, or if you just want to snap them, I just snap through them all. And there you go. It's super fast, super easy, and you got your asparagus ready. So I'm gonna pop this in with the salmon. Again, I just did a little bit of spray Pam in my pan, and that is gonna start sizzling away. So we've got our salmon in, we've got our asparagus in, that's going. And while that's going, we're gonna talk about what else we've got here. I've got a sweet potato, better than a regular potato, so much healthier for you. Easy to eat, even for breakfast. You can get a couple of big ones and pop them in the oven. Cook them at about 350 for 45 minutes, and they are so good for everything. You can make soup with them, you can make hash with them. They're good just as a side dish, which is what we're gonna do today. Super, super nutritious because they're orange. So first thing you do, give it a little wash, which I've already done. Cheap too, by the way, these are super inexpensive. And you wanna, give it a little stab with a fork with the tines. What that does is it breaks the skin a little bit so that if you've got moisture in there, it's not gonna explode in your oven. It just lets the steam out as it's cooking. So just run your fork over for a few little tines, give it some holes, and then I have pre-cut a couple of pieces of aluminum foil here because we are gonna bake off 1 sweet potato and 1 apple. It's not that hard to do, and you don't have to make like a big fancy dinner to feed yourself. What I like to do though is double the aluminum foil. So fold it in half, because that way it doesn't break open in the oven, and it can be a real sticky mess. Both a sweet potato or an apple will make a real mess on the bottom of your oven if you don't double up your foil. So crimp that. You poked holes in it, you wrapped it in foil, and it's done. So that one's ready to go in the oven. The next one we're gonna do, again, fold your foil. We're gonna do an apple. So baked apples are kind of like nature's candy. They're so easy and so decadent and so good for you. And they seem really hard, but honestly, it's super easy. And it's like a little apple pie all by itself. So first thing you wanna do is wash your apple. And this is a Cortland. Now Frank Connors taught me how to use Cortland apples. I had never cooked with them really before, but it's basically the only kind of apple I'll use now for baking. Jonathan, it turns out, really likes Cortlands too, so who knows? The guys always know, right? Those Mainer men. But the other one that I will tell you that I secretly like, and it's a little lower in sugar if that's something that you're looking for, is a Granny Smith. So start it with a knife and get the core out, and then you can take a spoon in there. Just go around a little bit over your bowl, and that gets your seeds out. So now you have cored it. You've got a beautiful little core wide open. Set her down on your foil. You want to put in about a tablespoon of brown sugar. So that just packs right down in there. Next trick is a pat of butter. Just one little pat of butter right on top. And then a sprinkle of cinnamon. Now you could do pumpkin pie spice if you wanted. You could do no spice at all. I like cinnamon and apples and brown sugar. I think they're a match made in heaven all the way around. And then you just fold your foil up right around it. And you've made this beautiful little foil pack. And when you're done, the cleanup is super, super easy. So I'm gonna switch these out. I've already got one of each in the oven. They will go in at 350. The apple only takes about 25 or 30 minutes. The sweet potato, depending on the size, can take 35 to 45. It really just varies. So I'm gonna pull those out and come back and check our salmon. One of the other nice things is that with the tin foil, you can handle them with your hands right out of the oven almost. Although I would highly recommend using a pot holder if you have it, just to make sure. Now this is the tricky part. The foil cools off, but the steam inside can be very dangerous. So be careful when you open them that you let, ooh, see that steam coming out? That you let that steam come out and don't burn yourself. Oh gosh, I wish you could smell this. Dave, doesn't this smell amazing? All right, so we've got a shot of this beautiful sweet potato ready to go. And will you look at that apple? My goodness, that is gorgeous and amazing. We are going to, you know what, I'm gonna leave it right in this foil. Pop it in this bowl. We'll come back to cut that open and have a bite of that in a minute. Look at that. These are very, very hot right out of the oven. So you definitely want to be careful. They're a little sticky, but whew, I got to tell you, that apple smells amazing. Let me get some of this out of the way. All right. So over here back at our pan, we have the salmon and the asparagus are doing their thing. So depending on how well cooked you like your salmon, I'm going to show you what it looks like over here. So take your spatula underneath, and I will promise you, you'll be tempted to flip it too early. That is the big mistake. You really want to let it cook and get a nice brown, crispy, crusty side. Jonathan always has me do the salmon at home because he has a tendency to want to flip it too early. So you get under there and you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It gets this beautiful color on it. And now we're going to cook it with the skin side down. So you've got your asparagus in there cooking. The asparagus is just using a little bit of the oil that comes off the salmon. Plus I sprayed the pan with spray Pam. And I've got a little bit of a spice mix now that I'm just going to sprinkle on both of them. So it's garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and paprika. That's one of my favorite mixes. So little onion, little garlic, little paprika. That's going to go right on top of your salmon. We already salted it. You can put a little on your asparagus if you want to. And then you probably want to pull your plate out and get it ready to go, because this fish is going to be out of here in just a minute. You've got your sweet potato here. Let's cut into this guy real fast. Look at that. Ooh. Oh my goodness, that is gorgeous. And you could do all kinds of stuff with this sweet potato now at this point. One of the tricks for cooking for 1 or 2 people is to make enough so that you have leftovers. Really, they are one of the joys of cooking by yourself. So I'm gonna pop a pat of butter in there. That makes it rich and luxurious. I'm going to pull this salmon, which I think is pretty much ready. So grab a few asparagus. And I like my asparagus sort of al dente. So I'm going to pull up 1 or 2 of those. I'm going to turn this off. And let's take a chunk of this here salmon. So what I'd like to do, you can pull the whole thing off. It's also easy sometimes if you want to try and leave the skin in the pan, you can do that too. I'm just going to take a chunk for myself right now because I'm the only one eating at the moment. So I'm going to pull that off to show you how delicious and wonderful that is. We'll leave that over here. All right, so let's go in on this. We have got some really lovely asparagus. We've got wonderful salmon, and see how that flakes right off? Comes right off the tail, the skin. You just leave it right there on the plate. And we've got a beautiful apple. So let's have a little sample. Perfect salmon. As you see, you've got your salmon, your asparagus, all in one pan, only one thing to clean up. You've got a beautiful baked sweet potatoes, super healthy, right out of the oven. And you've got your dessert of a baked apple ready to go. So enjoy. This has been People Plus Cooks for 1 or 2. We're doing easy peasy salmon, and we'll see you next time.